Manifestation at its core is the conscious use of thought to affect changes in our reality. It's about really using our thoughts to move our actions towards the various things that we want, towards the various things that we value. And it's really using our thought in a deliberate and intentional way. Now, of course, when we want to sort of explore and understand manifestation deeper, we need to ask ourselves, what is it that we wish to manifest? What is it that we wish to will into our reality? And this requires asking ourselves, what is it that we truly want? What is our value structure? What orients our being? What are we motivated towards striving for? And you see, in order to sort of explore this question, it's important, I suppose, to distinguish between the desires which are rooted in ego and the desires which are more in alignment with our higher self, or the aspect of ourselves which is of more moral integrity, of a higher ethical standard. You see, manifestation is often, as I see it, sort of depicted in the mainstream and the most conventional discourse. It's often oriented towards egoic desires such as wealth, social status, physical attractiveness, these various things which relate to, external things, really. And, I'm not dismissing the importance of paying attention to the external world, to these various external things such as, wealth and whatnot. The important thing to think about is that when you are on this sort of this cycle of trying to manifest these external things into your life, the attainment of such things will only ever bring temporary satisfaction. They rarely, if ever, lead to a lasting sense of fulfillment. And the problem is rooted in the fact that these egoic goals are, by their nature, insatiable. Often, when you achieve one of them, the goalpost will almost shift. So you want to sort of achieve more of it, and it really leaves you in the cycle of craving. It's like you're on a treadmill and you feel as though you're moving, but you don't really go anywhere. That is, your internal set of affairs doesn't change. You may have the sense of your external environment changing, but your internal sense of craving, your internal sense of voidness, of lack, of dissatisfaction, that will persist. So you're not really, you may manifest in changes to your external world, but you remain the same flawed and imperfect person. And if you compare that, of course, to manifestation, which is rooted in the value structure of your highest self, which I suppose may sort of be the more deeper and self-evident values of truth, of love, and compassion. When you manifest towards those things as it relates to you in your own particular life, because we all have different kind of understandings and experiences of truth, of love, and compassion. When you are manifesting from and towards those things, you will experience a sense of psychological and spiritual alignment, and this is because you are really orienting towards changing your internal rather than your external, or rather than exclusively your external. And often when you are sort of manifesting from this orientation where you are only interested in those higher aspects, even if your external world hasn't necessarily shifted much, you will feel a sense of peace in knowing that you are moving in the right direction. And I suppose to come back to the sort of the topic of egoic manifestation, this idea of, often focusing on material goals like money, status, and physical appearance and whatnot. Like I said, when these sort of things become the overriding goal of your motivations, there is this sort of inherent dissatisfaction that results from it. And this dissatisfaction, it almost stems from a lack of gratitude which accompanies sort of egoic manifestation. Because when we are sort of trying to manifest in these external things, often we're solely focused on what we don't have. And when we are focused on what we do not have, our attention, it ignores the abundance which is already in our current lives. We're constantly focusing on what we don't have rather than celebrating or feeling gratitude or reverence for what's already here, right? And, like I said, it's like the pursuit of these sort of egoic, lower goals. It is like running on a treadmill where you're constantly moving. There's a perception of constantly moving, but you don't feel content. You never go anywhere, like psychologically. And we know this if you look at the wealthiest individuals in society. Despite all their material success, all their shiny objects, do they look like psychologically whole individuals? Usually, I mean, often, the the sort of the oomph, the motivational structure of such people who want to accumulate so much stuff, they often are motivated from an internal sense of voidness, and they feel like they constantly want more, and they constantly want more and more. But the problem is, like, no amount of external success will ever really fill an internal void within yourself. You have to really address your internal traumas. You can't really plaster over them by accumulating shiny objects in your external. It's silly, really. I think this means that we need to take a proper look at what we are trying to manifest, and we need to take a proper look at whether the things that are motivating us currently, are they in alignment with our higher self, or are we operating in reality from a purely egoic basis? Because if we are operating in reality from a purely egoic basis, we will open ourselves up to the risk of these sort of addictive treadmill cycles of craving, of wanting more and more, and of failing to feel gratitude and love for where you are currently, even with all your imperfections, all the things that perhaps you would like. But I mean, we could list off endlessly all the things that we lack in our current situation. And when we are only exclusively oriented to those things in our mind, our entire reality is just a field of lack, a field of, oh, well, it would be better if I had this or that or this thing or that thing. If you compare that to the mindset of the experience of someone who is in the exact same situation, but they have this internal disposition of gratitude, where they are not continually focusing on all the lack in their life, but they're more celebrating the reverence of who they are, their relationships, what they are moving toward, what they're passionate about. It's quite remarkable, really, how one's internal attitude to a situation is so pivotal in just how one engages in the world. And I guess this is, the person's their sense of mood, their sense of vibration, their frequency. Are they operating from a high vibrational state or a low vibrational state? And that's something to really ask ourselves, as we go about in the world. Do we feel heavy? Do we feel light? Do we feel excited? Do we feel filled with vitality and curiosity? Or are we just going through the motions, really? I think that when you manifest whilst being guided by the values of your highest self, the values of truth, love, peace, compassion, when you are moving towards these ideals, and when you are moving towards ideals, because you will naturally cultivate gratitude and reverence for reality, who you are, other people, and existence. And, like I said, the sentiment of gratitude It really shifts your psychological mindset, it shifts your focus, and you almost step out of this sort of striving, having mode, and you move more to a being mode, where you feel content with where you are, whilst also remaining inspired to grow, to move. You know, feeling content with who you are currently doesn't mean that you just kick your legs up and do nothing. It's more just you act and you be in the world with a sense of peace and a sense of inner fulfillment, which is independent and detached from any external thing, you know. And you're being in the world from a place which transcends just the mere ego, or it's like there's a raw knowing. There's a raw knowing that no egoic goal, no egoic gratification will make you feel whole, because you already are whole. And this is to really integrate this. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do, I think.